the time you are in your 50s, most people finally check their 401s and realize they are far from where they need to be. According to Fidelity's latest data, the median balance of people aged 50 to 59 ranges from $71,000 to $83,000. The recommended target for this age group is 6 times your salary, and the balance of people with median income exceeds $500,000. The gap is huge, and few people talk about how to really close it. Let's look at the real numbers. Fidelity Investments manages more than 45 million retirement accounts, making it the largest 401k plan manager in the United States, with an average balance of about $243,200 for people aged 50 to 59 in the third quarter of 2024. At first glance, that sounds almost reasonable, but the median equilibrium, which captures people sitting in the middle, half with more and half with less, is between $71,000 and $83,000, about a third of the average. The reason the numbers are so far apart is that a very small, very high balance drives everything up. In the same quarter, Fidelity counted about 497,000 so-called 401k millionaires in their system, which sounds like a big club until you realize it represents 2% of their accounts. If you are a typical saver, the median reflects your reality. Pioneer S 2024, How America Saves report covers about 5 million participants and paints the same picture. The average balance for workers 55 to 64 years old is about $244,000, but the median is only $87,000, while the average balance for young people 45 to 54 years old is about $178,000, with a median of nearly $65,000. Every major supplier tells the same story, with a small group thriving and most falling far behind. Another group barely registered for the conversations. The National Institute on Retirement Security has found that about 40% of households aged 55 to 64 have no retirement savings, no small remaining 401k pensions, no forgotten era, and nothing. Put another way, the Employee Benefit Research Institute estimates that 40 to 45% of American households retire at a real risk of running out of basic expenses and uninsured healthcare funds. This is not fringe statistics. That is almost half the total in the United States. So what exactly does the right track look like? Fidelity's savings benchmark has become a widely cited target in retirement plans. Their advice is to hold about 6 times the annual salary at age 50, 7 times at age 55, and 8 times at age 60. The real dollar says it all. According to the Census Bureau, the median household income for people in their 40s and 50s is about $90,000 to $95,000. Which means that the target for people in their 50s is about $540,000 to $570,000, superimposed on the median 401k balance of $71,000. The size of the gap becomes evident. Most didn't. TVR slightly off the beat. They are clearly behind. It is worth mentioning that the single 401k balance does not reflect the overall situation. By their 50s, many had amassed old accounts from former employers in different places, extending the IRA and current programs. The Federal Reserve's Consumer Finance Survey tracks the sum of all retirement accounts. The survey shows that by 2022, the median retirement balance of households headed by 55 to 64 years old was about $185,000, with an average of about $537,000. These numbers look better than any single 401k snapshot, but they are still well below the benchmark for most households. The gender gap also runs through all these data in ways that receive little attention. According to Vanguard, the average 401k balance for women is about 30 to 35% lower than for men because of the pay gap, more frequent career disruptions, and higher part-time rates for women in their 50s. Access to data makes math more urgent. Here is a tool the tax code gives you that most people ignore entirely. Once you turn 50, the IRS will open supplemental contributions based on the standard 401k limit. The standard employee limit in 2024 was $23,000. And for people 50 or older, the catch-up clause was increased by $7,500, bringing the personal limit to $30,500. In 2025, those numbers rose slightly to the $23,500 standard, plus the same $7,500 catch-up, totaling $31,000. But here is a new wrinkle that few people have heard of. The Safety 2.0 Act, signed into law in December 2022, established an enhanced catch-up allowance for workers aged 60 to 63, starting in 2025, raising the additional amount from $7,500 to $11,250, and pushing the total amount that employees can pay annually to $34,750. These are serious numbers. But Pioneer data show that only about 16% of eligible participants actually use their catch-up contributions. That means 84 of every 100 workers over 50 have never been exposed to the option at all. Employer matching has gone hand in hand, becoming the closest thing in personal finance to free payment. Fidelity's 2024 data show that the average employer matching rate is about 4.7% of wages, and the average total savings rate of employee and employer contributions has climbed to about 14.1%, close to the 15% recommended by most planners. Pioneer found that the most common matching formula is that the top 6% salary is 50 cents to the dollar, which means that if you don't pay at least 6%, you leave your employer's money on the table. In 2024, another reserve landed at a safe price of 2.0. To calculate employer matching, employers can now treat your student loan payments as 401k contributions. Adoption is gradual, but if you are in your 50s and you are saddled with student debt, whether it is your own or your parents' loans, that could revolutionize how you calculate. In addition to the bill of lading number, there is a greater debate about whether the 401k system itself has actually fulfilled its commitments. The Income Act of 1978 created Section 401k, and a welfare consultant named Ted Benner created the first modern plan in 1981, earning him the title of father of 401k. Over the next 40 years, traditional pensions in the private sector were largely replaced. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, as of 2023, only about 15% of private sector workers still hold fixed income pensions, down from a clear majority in previous decades. 401k holds almost all the weight. Researchers at the National Institute on Retirement Security and other policy groups say the experiment to let everyone own their own pension fund managers has largely failed. Their evidence is hard to refute. 40% of people nearing retirement hold nothing. The median balance is only a fraction of what is needed, and persistent leaks are eating away at any savings. Researchers estimate that 401k leaks through early withdrawals. Difficult distributions and loans reduce total retirement wealth by about 25% or more over a career, while the provisions of the COVID-19 Healthcare Act allow fine-free withdrawals of up to $100,000. Secure 2.0 adds new emergency withdrawal options, which some see as useful flexibility and others as another exit ramp for funds that should continue to invest. Industry groups, like project providers and the investment firm Institute, strongly object to this interpretation. They point to record 401k millionaires, rising average balances and stable participation, returns as strong results for people who actually use the system. Automatic registration became easier to implement after the 2006 Pension Protection Act, but it did push the participation rate of projects that adopted the system to more than 90%, compared with 60 to 70% for those that chose to join. The problem is that many automated enrollment programs set default contributions at 3 to 4% of wages, well below the 15% threshold set by most experts. Access issues also provide a framework for all of this. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, about 30 to 40% of private sector workers do not have access to any employer-funded retirement plans at all. States like California, Illinois, and Oregon have started automated IRA programs to begin closing the gap. But those efforts are still in their early stages. Costs fuel the debate. Higher cost plans may dampen returns for decades, but the average 401k rate for many large plans has fallen below 5%, due to competition, litigation, and the shift to low-cost index funds. So let's go back to the personal level. If you see 401k balance in your 50s and feel too small, your gut is almost certainly right. But the path forward is not closed, it just requires speed. Starting today, maximizing catch-up contributions, seizing every dollar an employer matches, resisting early withdrawals and staying invested in tough times are all truly viable measures. But the complicated math at this stage of life is inexcusable. And honesty is important here. If a person starts saving $500 a month at age 25 with an average annual return of 7%, he will accumulate about $1.2 million by age 65. Starting at age 50, income of $500 a month is about $152,000. while matching early entrepreneurs requires donations of about $4,000 a month. That gap is the price of waiting. But the environment around you has never been better. With the S&P 500 hitting a record high throughout the year, the average 401k balance is close to a record high at the end of 2024. The Safety 2.0 reserve keeps expanding what you can contribute and how. The Target Date Fund now receives more than 60% of all 401k contributions, making investment decisions easier than ever. These tools exist. And tax breaks in early 2025 enhanced catch-up restrictions for the 60 to 63-year-old age group were just beginning to take effect. It is not too late to be in your 50s, but this is the last time you open a window. Data show that most people your age are behind. What matters now is how to use the rest of the year. If this helps clarify your position, click to subscribe to more such subdivisions, and ILL. See you in the next video.